Woohoo! What is up, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Impromptu Debate You, the show where we go head to head having conversations, discourse, and dialogue. And what is up, everyone? I want to thank you for joining us on the inner tubes. If you enjoy the program, or the channel, the show, please don't forget to like, follow on Twitch, or subscribe on YouTube, because that will gain you access to see our premieres, like the episode of Skeptic on the Street that is coming out tonight or early morning, depending on your view, as well as our live streams. Like, what is up, Pat? Good morning, I can actually say. We are about to go head into the Discord server. Someone wanted to have a conversation with me, I believe, on gender and sexuality, even though they were an atheist. However, I want to go in and, have some good fun no matter what the subject is. Maybe we'll find some theological back and forth. I'll also post the room so anybody can join us. I know. It's so late that it's early. And so with that, I am going to be getting us set up over there. Oh, and it looks like a few people have joined them. And if you also want, keep on tagging me with your question, comments, one-liners, whatever, and I will show them off on the screen. Say hi, hello, and what's up. Woohoo! What is up, a Doubting Thomas? I'll try and keep a little bit of a separation between the Discord and the community if I want to say anything, but I want to have some fun. So with that, let's get it on. I hope you are all ready for some impromptu debate you. Woohoo! All righty then. Let's head over there. It looks like we're heading to the Stanford channel. Going to talk with, she calls herself the Jew token over here. And I know Kat is a lady who might not like gender and sexuality. We'll figure that out. I'm looking to talk that, theology, more, whatever is up with you guys. Like, what is up? Woohoo! I am barely up, but I am up. And with that, we are going to enter. Make sure all this is good. All right, now our bodies are ready.
To be different traits, but as long as you guys all share like enough traits in common, that's going to be enough to be like to say that person's like part of the family.
But do you think, like Joy Wolf, do you think that like a change of constant, gender, according to whatever anyone identifies as, since like right now, like even when you go on the internet, you have so many terminologies. People used to always like make gender reveals, kind of,
Give me
be
1 second, guys.
really be determined. Oh, it's a male. Oh, it's a female. I feel like it has changed like 380 degrees.
Yeah, I don't like the concept of gender reveals, to be honest. I think they're really dumb. And it kind of shows like a bias in the society to care about gender way more than I think it should be cared about. Because there's going to be a lot of traits about your son or your daughter that matter quite a lot. And the fact that the one trait that you're going to celebrate is just going to be like the gender seems kind of odd to me.
Can you guys still
why don't we
hear it
have
when I move it off screen?
It probably will have brown hair reveal or something like that. I mean, obviously those things aren't going to be as obvious from the womb. But the point is, like, we don't need to like place any additional value on these kinds of traits. Do you understand what my point is here, or is it not clear? Hello?
Well, if it's calling everybody by what they want to be called, it's just creating you like identities that don't really correspond to them, or be even more confused as to where exactly they belong, you know? I don't take any societal construction as being like negative necessarily, you know?
No, I don't take the societal construct as being negative either. I'm saying that the value placed on it is overblown. And it's only getting to be valued more, which is kind of an annoying thing. Like, that's why you have people like I mean, it's not the only reason, but it's like kind of part of the reason why you have people who are like entertained, who are like half of the conversations they're having are just about gender. It's not more than half. Like it's like 90% of the conversations. It's like there are other things to talk about. What?
Sorry, who did you mention? I missed the person you mentioned. Did you say
Anderson.
Kate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 90% of those conversations are about gender. And like it's weird to me that that there's so much like content there, but it's not even a lot of content. They're just like repeating the same point and really like hammering down that these are like important issues to focus on. And I don't like
while I disagree with a lot of things that he says, a lot of like his anti-women misogynistic views, I still think that like he makes a point when it comes to gender dynamics within a couple, you know? Like he speaks about, you know, if like a man and a woman to each like their own role and therefore we have some sort of equity, you know? That's something I don't mind hearing about because like it's still educational in a way. And so because I don't think
whether or not you like the points he makes about that, it's kind of besides my point. Like my point is more about like the meta of the like having the discussion in the first place. Like it kind of seems like we're taking this one topic and we're making everything like it's the most important topic to be discussing. And I don't really understand why.
I
why?
want to point out that generally, especially now, the people who talk about sex and gender tend to be the religious. So, at least from our point of view, you bring it up.
No, that's not true. That's not fair.
Matters.
That's not fair.
It's my experience.
Yeah, but they're talking about it and then they get a reaction and then the people on the other side talk about it too. So it's not just like I'm talking about it right now, but I'm talking about it because they were talking about it, right?
Sure, and that was the subject. But normally, when I like enter a chat or anything, a debate, I have to like talk about 15 to 20 minutes of identity politics before I can get them off my genitals to talk about theology or any other subject.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I honestly think that a lot of it just becomes affront to their holy texts. And if they did not have these holy texts, I think that they would not have these views of sexuality.
Why not?
And their holy texts don't say much about the gender issues.
Oh no, they do. I mean, they're just wrong and should be told so.
Why do you think? Why do you think people's sensibilities are predicated on a holy text alone?
Because this form of disgust seems to come strictly from a god. It doesn't make any logical or coherent sense. It would be like that kind of disgust you would normally reserve for food. And so it's like, oh my god, you don't like ice cream? Oh, that is disgusting. We should not let you marry.
You're being very short-sighted. So
yeah, most conservative views. Most conservative views are based on the yuck argument.
Zenlini, 1 second, bro. I know you were born in a fucking anyway. So imagine you're a father and you have shush, be quiet. Imagine you're a father and you have a beautiful
Are
baby
you
boy.
a father? Are you a father?
Shush, Jeleni.
No.
Imagine you're shush. Just be quiet,
I'm
bro.
not really
Calm
here
down.
to hear concrete debate right
Imagine
now.
you are a father and you have a beautiful baby boy, and you give him your name. He becomes the junior or third or fourth in line. You've got all of these aspirations for him.
Why would we imagine
as a
that?
father, as a boy, right? Here, little Lord Zeleny. I don't know why you're acting like a bitch this morning. Wait, you act like a bitch every morning.
No, you're the bitch
anyway,
here.
Lord, you queer boy. Anyway.
So, as a person who is both the server moderator, a room moderator here, and also the person who decided to come in here to have a discussion with Amy, I'm gonna silence this conversation because
Just a quick point of matter. I like how I started the room with Albedo, and now the Jews have control. This is what they do. Okay, carry on.
And we're, they always win too, so it's almost a pointless
fight. I'm sure you would have given me control, Orson, when you had started the room.
Would you get me my mods back? Thank you.
I'm not the room owner. I'm just a mod up.
Yeah, but we'll work your Jewish ways. Don't pretend like you don't have influence, okay?
Okay. So I'm not gonna do that.
Once again, we actually have to get permission from the Galactic Federation. It's not like we can just do anything. The entire galaxy generally has to agree.
Okay, so Amy, from what I understand, you take a self-ID view of gender, right?
So these types of labels, especially when it is gender or race, they are both self-identifying and they are also identified by other people. And so it's the label that you give yourself and the label that other people give you.
So do you think you're a woman in virtue of other people labeling you that, or yourself labeling you that, or both?
So I am a male to female transgender, which means born biological male, but live in the gender that is feminine.
Yeah, but what does that mean to you? What does it mean to live in that gender?
Just means that I would say I lean towards more feminine. If we were to just tally the things I like and dislike, I would probably lean much heavier in the feminine bucket, and thus it just makes it easier in a Western society that only has two buckets to just be in the feminine bucket. Doesn't mean I changed my sex. Like, you can't just change it's a weird point to talk about chromosomes because no one goes around like, I changed my chromosomes, it happened, it's real. And so they have to frame it in a way. In fact, the irony is it's a narrative. The whole "a man can become a woman," that is a conservative religious phrase. Transgender sociologists don't say that. They say that there is gender and sex, and they differentiate between them.
Yeah, I actually agree. But the reason that I at least thought we had a disagreement there is because I've heard you do things like say to people, oh, if you feel like you want to identify as a man, like
masculine,
then you can
I wouldn't say a man. If you want to identify as masculine, knock yourself out. Go lift, bro.
Okay, but would you ever say to somebody you what it means to be a woman is to identify as a woman, or you wouldn't really say that?
I don't really there are fairly given definitions of what biological male and female. I think you can also be intersex because I am, but I am a transgender woman, which means you, by definition, and I think that's why they moved away from transsexual to transgender, because you're not transitioning away from your sexuality, you're transitioning away from your gender.
Yeah. Okay, I don't really disagree. I thought I disagreed with you, but I don't think I actually disagree with you on that.
Woo-hoo. I told you, I think we agree on most things.
I'm not sure about that because there are other things, other points in time where I was like, nah, I don't believe this.
Is it because she's an atheist?
No, she's an atheist, I believe.
I am, but yeah.
Yeah, right. If you're both atheists, you clearly agree on everything, right?
Wait, that doesn't follow.
But I'm a liberal with some conservative values. I am trying to think, which normally makes me a moderate centrist type of person. I own politics, and then everything else is just being a skeptic and an atheist.
Do you believe there is a God?
I do not.
Why?
Because of the first of all, start with lacktheism as a foundation, even though they use that as an insult. You shouldn't believe anything if there's no good evidence. But on top of that, I do not believe that a mind can exist without a physical conduit. And so
Why?
Because consciousness is a mechanism for a very specific branch of multicellular life. Only happens in animals so far that we know of.
That's
okay.
How do you justify that?
Okay, let's explore this. Do you think?
Like you're saying it's only a mechanism for animals, like human animals,
Do you think
etc.
single-celled organisms are conscious?
Okay, so yeah, how do you know that there is no consciousness outside of
all you had to say
physics?
Was yes or no. Do you think bacteria are conscious?
No, I don't think
Do you
that.
think viruses are conscious?
No.
Okay, so we've eliminated single-cellular life. Now all we have is multicellular life. Do you think plants are conscious?
No. Why are we doing this?
Continuing to go down multicellular life. We rely on plants.
So
can I at least
you're being a bit retarded. So
and
you didn't.
Being
so
a little stupid. I'd rather
questions.
be retarded than stupid.
I've answered 2 of your questions and you failed to answer mine.
I'm answering your question. So we've eliminated bacteria.
You're answering my question with a series of questions. You're answering my question with a series of questions. So the burden which you have is you made the claim that consciousness can only be linked to like physical beings. Like, how do you justify that?
So they can't be in bacteria. They can't be in viruses. We've now eliminated plants. Plants evolved before us.
You didn't justify that.
Before? Well, if humans were to die, in fact, all animals were to die right now, plants would be just fine. If plants were to die...
If you use a conditional to justify a proposition like that, then you're just appealing to a consequence.
If you don't know this, then you just don't believe in evolution, and we need to talk about evolution. But I'm still going down to... I'm still answering your first question. So we've eliminated all of single-cell life. We've eliminated plants.
No, you haven't.
All that's life left is archaea. I don't believe you think archaea...
How did you justify that bacteria is not conscious?
You already agreed with me.
How did you justify...
It is
no,
no,
it doesn't matter. Just because I held the view. So when you said yes or no, when I said I don't think, I was like, I was presenting like the gnosticism. Like, I don't hold the belief that they are conscious, but I don't deny that they are conscious also, right? Like, I have no idea if a rock is conscious or not. It's completely underdetermined. So now you're the one saying that physical things are the only things that have the potential to be conscious, and you just haven't done anything to justify that. You were trying to run away by saying, hey, we agree that that's the case, and that's not the case.
So now that we've eliminated all those, all we have left are fungi
and
animals. Now that we've eliminated fungi, only
we didn't eliminate. How did you eliminate those?
Conscious mechanism.
Jesus Christ, you're retarded.
Actually gotten my
Hold on, I'm gonna start modding. Sorry, Amy. I just want to say, like, we have to keep this civil, because people here don't really want to hear a fight. They want to hear a debate. And I feel like you're also not really listening, Amy. So I would like you to pay attention, because what Orson's saying is you asking him what he believes isn't eliminating it. Isn't really eliminating it. It's just saying, oh, Orson also agrees. So.
I don't even. She funneled me into a yes/no, where I say no, she thought the conclusion is that I think that they are not conscious, as opposed to being agnostic. Like, I don't hold the belief that they are conscious. She went, therefore, he holds the belief that they are not conscious, and that's not true.
Pronouns me
wrong.
Okay, but that's okay.
Amy, I'm gonna unmute you. Do you understand?
Sure, I disagree. I've been listening very intently. He wouldn't let me finish my point. I at least now have answered his first question, and I'd be willing to go on to any other questions that they have.
Well, let me just ask you.
Okay, this person's just a dumb.
Let me just ask you a question, Amy.
Sure.
Do you think it's the same as saying, like, you've justified something by asking somebody else what their view is on it and seeing that they happen to just agree?
No, but if we agree, we should move down to find out where we disagree. We shouldn't spend
But also, you realize that Orson's agnostic, so he doesn't even agree that they're... No, you were saying you eliminated it from like possibility, which is not the case. You just eliminated it as something that he believes.
Are you talking about God or consciousness now?
I'm talking about consciousness when it comes to single-celled organisms. It seems like Coalson is agnostic about those. You asked him the question, basically, do you think they have consciousness? He doesn't think they have consciousness. He's agnostic towards whether they have consciousness. He's open to the possibility.
Sure, those are two different things, and he first agreed with the premise, and then later on he tried to say that he was taking a more neutral position.
Sorry, what did I agree to?
About with any of those.
Well, wait, Amy, what he
I don't think I agreed to anything.
What he agreed to was that he agreed that he didn't.
Am I audible?
He didn't hold the beliefs that they are conscious, right? But that's not the same as saying he believes they're not conscious.
Is this better, guys? Sure. We can now talk about, if he is agnostic about it, then we could talk about why single-celled organisms do not have consciousness. We could talk about that.
Okay. Do you have an argument for it?
Sure. You guys have to deal with why.
Not fighting.
Sure, exactly. But yeah, it has to deal with what consciousness is. Consciousness is specifically a mechanism of being aware on the macroscopic landscape from multicellular organisms. And so I would like to know how it could even have things like a mind, which generally you need a more of a neural network. You really need the neurons working together. It seems to be an emergent property. It would have to be.
Why? Wait, why do you need to have that?
You say why, but it's not about a why, it's about a what. It's about what it is. Like you could add, because consciousness and digestion go hand in hand, so you could say why, but it's really what. It's what is the conscious organism doing.
Right now to justify what you were saying, so that's why I'm asking that, because it doesn't seem like there is a justification for that unless you assume the physicality of consciousness.
Sure, so let's talk about, what do you think consciousness is?
I'm a dualist, so I think it's just like anything that minds would contain, I suppose.
Anything that minds would contain. Is everything in the mind conscious?
Yeah, probably. Having the mind is what makes you conscious.
Is your heartbeat run by your mind?
No.
So I guess not everything running off the mind is conscious.
The mind isn't the brain. They're not the same thing.
Oh, I agree. I'm not a dualist. I think the mind is under the brain. Directly hierarched. Has to be nested by a physical medium.
Wait, you said you're not a dualist?
I am
but
not.
You also don't.
I believe in a mind. I believe in the mind-body war. The body wins. The mind is under the body.
But that would still be a dualist position unless you think the mind is physical.
I believe so. You have two options. You have either matter or energy. The mind is the neurons, the physical neurons sending energy pulses, and those pulses are your thoughts.
That's not my belief, but okay. Hold on one second. David is saying his Discord DC'd me. He doesn't know what's happening. There's no root over and over. Also, he doesn't want to engage with this because he thinks you're dumb.
That's okay. I accept that as challenge not accepted by him, I guess.
Okay.
But I still love all my theist brothers and sisters. I understand they oftentimes disagree. I'm often drawn to people who disagree with me.
Okay. I guess that's that.
I guess so. I mean, like I said, it almost feels weird saying it out loud. The Jew. It's lovely talking to you. I know even though I come in spicy oftentimes, like I said, I think I agree with you on a lot of your points. We're both material. Well, I don't know how much of a materialist you are, but you are an atheist.
I'm not a materialist.
Oh, you're not a materialist. Okay. Well, then we're both atheists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you would like to, I just wanted to at least have the conversation. It seemed like we could work things out. Yeah, I don't think that, you know, I guess I'll say my last spicy point on the gender point, which is I think that the only way that religious come after us is by straw manning our view. And when they straw man our view, I think it makes a lot of people who may be a little bit more conservative sympathetic to them when they don't break it apart, because it's not a bunch of people just saying that you put a dress on, therefore you are a woman. I think that is basically what they think the liberal or the sociological point of view is. It's not. It's oftentimes in logical debates we're not talking about feelings. This is the one of the rare times in life where we are talking, at least in the debate platform, where we're talking about feelings. It's how do you feel? How do you act? And if you
Amy,
just...
Amy, you seem to believe that like this is sort of like an atheist-theist battle in saying that like there are only men and women. Amongst atheists, a lot of them believe that there's this binary system of men, women, and nothing in between. I don't think you're really getting like the debate. It's not about being a theist or an atheist. Like a lot of theists agree to
Do you know what a proxy war is?
Excuse me?
Do you know what a proxy war is? It's like where the two bigger battles are not fighting their own battle, but they're like using a smaller guy to kind of fight their war on both sides for them. I view this as a proxy war. Yes, gender and sexuality, technically speaking, has nothing to do with theology. However, when it comes to the actual people who believe this, it is everything to do with it. 90% of the people who are anti-LGBTQ plus are religious and do so for religious reasons.
Yes, I do agree with you. There's a majority of that. But I mean, the system of men, women is something that even amongst atheists disagree with, you know? So I don't think like
Not
the
really.
problem is theist or atheist.
I mean, we believe in, or let me say this, among sociologists, because I hate to say the atheist position when generally we're just telling us what the experts tell us, but like you can be male, female, intersex, and then there are a variety of different genders, how you actually interact with society. Because we're the ones who sit there all day, every day, being like, women cannot come from ribs. If you think that a woman comes from a rib, then we have deeper levels of biology to talk about than gender. But yeah, unless anything else, I'm here for, I'll keep on going.
Did she justify the idea that mind's only available to physical beings?
No.
Oh.
Are you able to give me some sort of agent, some sort of being? Like, what would be the purpose of having a mind, a consciousness? Why? Beyond a deus ex machina, beyond a plot device, what is a mind without a body?
You know what an epistemic objection is? Because that's what that is.
Is that an answer in there?
Yeah, you just raise an epistemic objection. It's like not even worth considering.
What do you think consciousness is? I don't think you're going to answer any questions on this subject, to be honest with you.
Well, I answered a few already.
What is consciousness?
What are you asking for a definition?
Sure.
What kind?
Pick.
Well, I mean, okay, I can give you an ostensive definition. Like, I have consciousness.
Cool. What is it, this consciousness you just said you had?
Well, I just gave you the definition.
It's the word I?
No, I just gave you an ostensive definition.
That's not a definition.
Yeah.
That is an ostensive definition, dumbass.
You're obviously very dumb. That's not
Just
a
Google
definition.
ostensive definition, dumbass.
Extensive definition isn't the same as like.
So when you, oh, I'm sorry. No, continue. I'm sorry.
Seemed like when I asked her, what's she asking for? Like,
I
she was
gave
open.
you definitions.
I said, can I give an ostensive definition?
You said the word "I." So if you went to the hospital and they said I lost consciousness, you'd be okay?
I didn't say I.
Okay, I'll ask again.
I said,
what is your
have
definition?
it, like it's right here. Like I
Okay.
experience it.
Okay. You also experience digestion and a lot of other mechanisms. You experience your body healing. Like,
Right.
Okay, but that doesn't explain what it is. What is consciousness?
So what are you asking for? Like, what kind of definition are you asking for?
Senator, I'm just asking you to answer the question.
What is a standard definition? Like consciousness would be like a set of qualitative states which one can experience.
We're getting
like,
closer.
Yeah, but then so I don't know what you're asking for.
I mean,
like you don't know anything about definitions.
I guess I'll just give my definition. So I'll give you the cheat key. But consciousness is a state of awareness that an organism uses to interact on the macroscopic landscape. You know, we walk, we talk, we sometimes, or hopefully daily, go to the bathroom and sometimes mate. That is the hallmarks of consciousness. It is something only animals do. It's our ways of collecting energy. It goes in direct opposition to fungi, which put their stomach acid on the environment that they're breaking down. We put it inside of us.
I don't think putting food inside of us is relevant to consciousness.
Really? Can you name me another organism that puts food inside of them? And actually, I actually know one, and it's only one that's...
Wait, that isn't conscious?
Yes, and they aren't conscious. Yes, an organism that puts something inside of them, just like we do.
Well, consciousness is like is underdetermined, so we wouldn't have justification.
How do you think it's undetermined?
Why do I think it's underdetermined?
Yes.
Because like all of the evidence that we have is like a category error. So let's say, like, again, something like you've heard of like solipsism, right? Or even
and the problem of hard solipsism, yes.
Right. So all of the evidence that we're going to use to justify the fact that somebody else is conscious is going to rely on like an assumption that other people are conscious. Like, there's no way for us to lend credence in one way or the other due to somebody else's behavior that they are like in fact conscious as well.
I disagree. The problem with hard solipsism is something entirely. Just because we can't ultimately prove that we are not brain in vats or that it's a simulation does not mean that we can detect other conscious agents, at least in this world, and that we can also detect from what is not I can tell you that a plant is living but not conscious. I can tell you that a rock is both not alive and not conscious.
Right, but I don't think you understood that. I said all of those like inferences rely on like assumptions that support it, which are like unfounded.
But what you are saying, that is we can't know anything. Not we can't know conscience. We can't even know we're not brain in vats. How can we know that I am 1 + 1 is 2? How can I know I'm eating ice cream? How can I know this person in front of me is real and not just myself? But that's different from me saying, I know you're a conscience agent. I could tell, because the only examples really that we have of conscience agents are us talking. Plants can't do this. Fungus can't do this. Bacteria, viruses, they don't need to.
You don't want to appeal to talking. Like, see, with any like set of criteria that you give, like I can propose like some sort of robot or machine that I make, which has all of those behaviors. And then you're going to say, no, that thing is not conscious. Or maybe you'll say, yes, it's conscious.
Well, those
like, but then I don't think you will, because you've already said that you have an example of something that it like digests things on the inside and is not conscious, like the Venus flytrap, maybe.
That was the example, the Venus flytrap. But that's because the Venus flytrap is in a situation where it can't get its nutrients, and so it needs to actually adapt itself and supplement it.
That's not relevant to my previous point. Would you like to like speak to that at all?
Your previous point on solipsism. What was the direct last point?
No, my point was like you don't want to use like a set of criteria. Like when you said, "Oh, we know someone's conscious because they speak." The thing is, I could present you like GPT-3 that
you
speaks.
were talking about false positives with like a Turing test, because one of my tests for consciousness is a Turing test, and yes, it does. You could theoretically create just enough variety in your responses from other pre-programmed conscience agents to trick people into thinking that this thing is conscience. But I also
GPT-3 may already be passing the Turing test.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you...
But then you'd be committed to saying that GPT-3 is conscious.
If you talk to a chatbot without even realizing it, then you have already... they've already passed the Turing test. That's not the point. The point is not that we can get false positives of what consciousness is. It's that we can also get true positives of what consciousness is.
So if it does pass the Turing test, you would say that it's conscious?
I think that if it passes the Turing test, I think not only should we, I think that humans naturally will. I forget which comic it was, but it was like, in the future, humans are going to have a problem not treating robots.
When you say should, do you mean like...
But then we treat our Alexa like a human being now.
Do you think, when you say should, do you mean like epistemically, like we'd be rational to treat them as conscious?
If you cannot discern a conscience from a non-conscience agent, I would say that it is. If you have a droid coming to you and acting like a conscience agent, you're going to act like they are, whether they are or not.
So if we found a P-zombie, why would you be rational in thinking that it's conscious?
I mean, so now you're basically saying if we find someone that's a zombie on the inside, but from all reasons on the outside, why should we treat them like a normal conscious being? Easily, because from all reasons on the outside, they seem like a normal conscious being. We have no way of knowing they're a zombie. How do I know that you're not a zombie
like a bunch of like assumptions
right now? How do I know that you are just a voice that was cleverly created right before this that already has all of the answers circumvented?
Well, I mean, that's a stretch. Like, so you can induce that I'm not like some sort of Discord bot, right?
I mean, isn't that what
you can induce that I'm like a human, right? But
how?
I don't think you can lend credence. You can induce I'm a human because you can verify a bunch of the people that you talk to on Discord that they're humans.
Oh, you just trick them too.
What do you mean by trick?
I mean, they believe you're a conscious agent too, but that's just...
No, I mean, you can meet them in person, that's what I'm saying. You can verify they're humans.
Okay, but we're talking about a P-zombie. How when you meet someone, do you know they're not actually dead on the inside?
Which is why when you bring up, like, whether I'm, like, a Discord bot or something like that, that's kind of like a stretch. Like, where
we should act like conscious
you won't be able to lend credence to the idea that, like, when you meet enough human in the street that they are, like, actually conscious. We take these as like an assumption, though. Like, but it's completely irrational. It's just based on intuition.
I'm gonna cough. Hold on 1 second.
It's not something you can justify. It's just like a properly basic belief. It's like an axiom of the system.
Honestly, the fact that us as conscious agents are treating other conscious agents as conscience. I mean, how much reductio do we have to get? You're doing hypotheticals in which there may not exist. I would say that our consciousness is highly motivated for being here.
Well, the thing is, like, so the issue is you're saying something like you want to induce it, right? But there is no set of priors that you can use. There's no way for you to verify that something else is conscious. Like, there's no way for you to lend credence against idealism, for example.
Okay. Hold on.
But you're just going to assume that it's not the case.
Okay. There's a person in a room. Okay, the door is locked. You can't see them. And I give you one job. My only job is, can you figure out if this person is conscious or not? Do you think you can solve that puzzle if I unlock the door?
I didn't really follow the example, but if you're going to give me like a human, I'm going to assume they're conscious, yeah.
Why?
I can't justify that. It's just a properly basic belief I have.
I disagree. It's evolution. You are a social creature. This is what we do. We rely on each other to get around and survive. And so here we are.
Well, that's just like a pragmatic account rather than a justification.
I would say it's what happened. Whether it's pragmatic or not, it is what happened.
Right, but that's not an
History.
epistemic justification, unless you're a pragmatist, which I don't think you are.
I am just trying to say it is not about the practicality of it. I would say we should...
Right, I wouldn't say it's about the practicality either. So when you're saying something like, oh, it happened, like we evolved, oh, we do these things, we communicate with each other, we assume we're conscious, that's not a justification.
No, I mean, that is literally what consciousness is. Like, these qualities that we are all doing, you can assume they're all false, but what is it that we're doing? We are being conscious. We are walking. We are talking.
Right, but you didn't justify that they are, like, people are conscious. You can't. You only assume it.
No, actually, you would have to go to some radical extreme to assume we are not conscious.
I don't assume we're not. I assume we are. Also, it's not radically extreme.
Why do you assume we're conscious? Is there anything about consciousness you could pick
It's
out?
irrational. I've already told you that there isn't a justification for my assumption.
Okay,
you're the one who thinks there is a justification for this.
If I put a plant
position.
and a human being in front of you, and I say, see who you can have a better conversation with, and who seems more conscious, you're going to say they intuitively just, like, what is the argument
right.
here?
As in, like, it boils down to all of the, like, rationales I will give you will hinge on intuition there, yeah. And probably basic beliefs about other people's consciousness.
And I would say most of them would boil down to biology.
Biology underdetermines consciousness.
Sure. In fact, I agree, because I think consciousness is a physical thing. Or a physical mechanism, I should say. Just like digestion. Digestion is
but if it was a physical
property.
mechanism, I don't think it would underdetermine it. No, I mean,
Why?
necessarily. Like, there's room for it to not underdetermine it if it's a physical. Like, there's room for it to be, like, epistemically accessible if it's a physical mechanism. So you wouldn't. I mean,
That's
you
weird,
want.
Pat.
It's
You
fine
can't
for you to
join?
say you agree
I'm
it's
sorry.
underdetermined, but saying I agree because it's physical, that's not a justification of it being underdetermined, because it's possibly not underdetermined under physicalism. So let me think.
What's up, Titan? What's up, everyone?
In the
Pat,
beginning,
Clockwork,
this is
Rock,
what the discussion was
Justin,
about altogether, was
Judith.
whether
What?
this is underdetermined, and you were saying it's not.
Spooky.
Like, you said that you have justification for it.
Yeah. I mean, when we are talking about the medical definition of consciousness, it's actually fairly easy to figure out who is conscious, who is not
No. See, that would
conscious.
be a bit of an equivocation. We weren't really talking about like a medical definition.
Oh, I was.
Like, because if you remember no, you weren't, because the beginning of the conversation was about if a non-physical being could have a mind, and I said that's underdetermined by like our set of facts and evidence, right? And you disagreed with that. You wanted to justify that a non-physical being cannot have a mind.
Yes.
And that's just going to be completely unjustified, and that's why we went down the rabbit hole of solipsism.
And it's why we've been talking about consciousness, at least from my perspective, medically the entire time, because you
You
need
would
a
want to
physical
speak.
body.
Wait, so you're going to use a medical definition of, like, you're going to be speaking about medicine when
Yes.
we're talking about minds that are not physical.
Why do you think they're not physical?
Okay, we're talking about the potential of minds that are not physical, like whether they can exist or not. You're going to speak about medicine in that
Yep.
conversation. Is that correct?
And only that. I'm not sure what other context you would think, because when we're talking about digestion or the body healing
Okay,
or
so-
consciousness, we're talking about medicine, biology, science.
That's a very poor like position or step of reasoning to say that you're going to use like you're only going to be talking about medicine when you're talking about consciousness, because it's in a philosophical context. Like we're having a philosophical conversation.
I think it's a scientific one. I think I understand.
Right, but
I'm trying to explain
it would
to you
make
what
sense then.
consciousness is from
It would make sense then if you were to say something like, "Oh, it's not undetermined," because you're using like a different definition where it's like assumed in the axioms of the system of medicine, right? As opposed to like the philosophical definition of mind. Like, sure, I agree. Like, given all of the tenets of medicine, right, or like physicalist, materialist medicine, like, yes. Minds cannot be non-physical, right? But that's not what the conversation was like at all. The conversation is, why is it impossible for minds to be without a physical body?
And
why is that impossible? If you're going to say because of the tenets of medicine, that's going to be missing the question.
So possibility and impossibility both have to be demonstrated. So I am saying that it is impossible for a mind to not have a physical body because it is a requirement. It is a contingent of what a mind is, the operating system that runs off the physical pieces, the computer of the brain. And so the funny thing is that I always like is that these conversations are never clear until I ground it 100% in biology. Everyone wants to talk about the philosophical notion of consciousness until they lose their consciousness. And then once they lose their consciousness, they're like, no. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to know what we're talking about. Take my word for it. Consciousnesses do exist and mind pass the frig out. Then all of a sudden, the medicine definition floats right to the top.
I stopped listening. Like, I think
That's not surprising. I'll be honest with
made
you.
it
That
very
is
clear
entirely
that-
not surprising.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised either. When you're presenting a category error over and over again, it's not surprising when someone stops engaging with you.
Sure, you just don't think that there is a scientific version of consciousness, so you're not going to be one of the people that adds to the
I didn't
field.
say that. I didn't say that.
You didn't? Then why? I thought you were kind of objecting to the fact that we were talking
I was
about
saying.
consciousness through a medicine
So if you actually could listen, I was saying that a medical.
I can listen, unlike you, who already admitted they weren't.
Okay.
But continue.
No, I mean just because I admitted that I wasn't doesn't mean I can't, dumbass.
Oh, I guess we'll find out, will we?
Right. So clearly you keep failing to listen, right? I haven't misquoted you once. However, you said that I'm putting forward that there is no scientific definition of consciousness, which I didn't put that forward. What I did put forward, however, is that a medical definition of consciousness would be a category error for a philosophical conversation about consciousness, about a dualistic conversation about consciousness. Yeah, that'd be a category error. That's dumb.
And your problem is you're
be
a
dumb for
dualist.
repeating that category error.
It's not a category error. Your problem is
I
you're a
could be a
dualist, and you don't
physicalist.
think that the mind
I
is
could be a
physical.
physicalist. I could be a physicalist and still hold that you're dumb for bringing a category error in that conversation.
Okay, you need to prove that it's a category error. We're talking about
It's
science,
actually
not
dumb.
philosophy.
It's not actually dumb to make a category error because everybody makes mistakes, even really smart people. But the dumb part is when I'm telling you it's a category error, you repeatedly make the category error. That's the dumb part.
Well, if you ever get justification for it being a category error, tell me.
That's what it means. It's like analytically a category error.
She's asking you for a justification. Do you understand why this is ironic? Anybody? This is funny? No?
Go ahead.
No.
Well, you're asking
I mean,
her.
I was a bit bamboozled by that.
You asked her. She's giving you a pragmatic reason when the context is philosophical, and she's already stated she's not a pragmatist. And you're simply just asking for the justification, and she's just saying it is what it is, and that's what you're asking for. And now she's asking you for a justification. I thought that was ironic.
I don't know.
Right.
It is what it is. Sounds like a
That's not what's
tautology.
happening.
That wasn't what I was saying. I
That's
don't know if
exactly
you
what's
understood my
happening.
viewpoint. Okay, then steel man my position.
You think I'm like not completely sure about what the topic was on originally, but
That sounds about right too.
but,
Aren't you?
You were talking about that there's just a pragmatic reason for
Not a pragmatist.
the state of affairs we have. Well, you were just saying it is what it is, right? This
No, that's
is
a
what it is.
tautology. That's what you just said.
No, that's
If you're
what
not-
you were saying.
If you're
about-
not using, if
You
you
don't
weren't
even know what
appealing
the
to like a
subject is.
pragmatic justification, why did you like invoke many pragmatic,
What was the claim?
like relevant
Remind me.
Can
states?
you give me an example?
So the claims that we were going over are are we justified to believe other people are conscious, and like if we have like epistemic access to consciousness generally?
They pass the Turing
And then
test.
prior to that, we were talking about, can a mind be without a physical body, which Amy is saying is not possible.
It's a contradiction. If
Right, he was asking you for justification as to why the mind was physical or something like that.
So if a mind is contingent on the brain, if the mind is,
it was necessarily physical and necessarily like medically defined and known as well.
Medically defined too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm using the biological definition of consciousness.
Your justification for that was, well, it is.
No, I don't even, like, you just keep on saying it is what it is. Update tautology.
Why would you?
I'm repeating what you said.
Don't you see? See, she doesn't see how in error it would be to use a biological definition of anything in a philosophical conversation. Well, as in to rebut, to justify a proposition, a philosophical proposition.
Do you think there's a philosophical notion of digestion?
No, I wouldn't ask you a philosophical question about digestion.
So why do you think there's a philosophical notion of consciousness? And why do you think not of digestion?
Well, I mean, I have reasons to know why there is one of consciousness, but no reasons to know why there is one of digestion. And that may be because I haven't really thought about digestion much. However, like consciousness is because we don't really have like epistemic access towards consciousness, then that's why it becomes like a question of philosophy.
Wasn't there like a part of the conversation about comparing a plant with a human and how you can know that a human is conscious and the plant is not? You said something like basic belief, and she was claiming that you can infer it through medical like definition, which gives some criteria how to determine whether someone is a conscious or not.
That would just be equivocating on conscious from the philosophical notion to a medical notion.
The medical approach gives you certain criteria that you can use in inferring whether something is conscious or not. So that's
right,
the answer to the question of how to infer.
That would be begging the question against somebody opposing.
How to infer whether a plant is conscious or a person is conscious.
So that would be begging the question against anybody who's proposing.
It gives you a set of criteria, and you can like say, well, those criteria are not relevant or not. But that's another question. It's not
those criteria are like are a category error against the philosophical question. Like, so if somebody presented,
not a category error.
Yes, they are.
Criteria are something like responsiveness, etc. I know responsiveness is a big one, like, but I can't remember. There's an entire like set of them. When you're checking, if, for example, if a person is conscious or is here in a coma, there's like a set of things that doctors go through. You can use that to like infer around the world, looking at the world around yourself to see like, should I think that plants are conscious? And like you can, look at this proposed
if somebody's in
criteria for consciousness.
If somebody's in a coma, we don't. It's underdetermined if they have qualitative states.
I would actually say we can say they're not conscious.
Whether you can externally infer consciousness or not. It's not whether you can read someone's mind.
Yeah, but you're talking about consciousness as about like, as in like being like awake and remembering them or something, as opposed to like qualitative states. That's why it's a category error.
You can then say that it's a category error to try to infer in any way at all that someone else has a consciousness being that you cannot see their first person perspective, which is nonsense.
Any sort of inductive inference is going to be like underdetermined. Any sort of inference towards consciousness is going to underdetermine consciousness. So yeah, any sort of criteria like that, any sort of physical criteria is going to be.
Says that's a category error, and also most philosophers would not even say that is a lack of data for an inference, like because no one is a.
I don't understand what you said.
No one is an orthodox Cartesian who wants like certainty of knowledge.
I have a recording of you, Amy, literally just saying consciousness. We see it. We are walking. We are talking. This is it. Which is exactly my critique. You're saying
one of the hallmarks of consciousness is that they walk and that they talk. part of being
You understand
not
that's not an
conscious.
epistemological justification, though. That was my critique, and that's why I said it wasn't. It was ironic because you weren't giving an epistemological justification, and then out of nowhere you asked Orson for his epistemic reasoning. And I was like, that's fucking crazy.
So let's talk about conscious. Do you think that walking and talking is one of the hallmarks of being a conscious agent? Being able to make sounds and being able to walk on the landscape?
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Why?
Because like near brain dead people have been conscious before, and they can't walk or talk.
Near brain dead
fuck.
people have been walked or talk, therefore...
Yeah, so people who
not
are
a
in a
hallmark.
wheelchair
Wow.
who don't talk. Right,
Yeah,
so
that too.
that's why there's confusion about like hallmark, right? You want to say something, you want to ask like, what are the necessary?
Necessary.
Right.
The question was whether it was
Yeah,
sufficient.
my cousin's a cripple.
Well, that's what
so
the thing is. When you say hallmark, like there's confusion about whether she means necessary or sufficient.
So-
Also, we wouldn't want to say it's sufficient because we've got like no necessarily entailment that there are no P-zombies.
So going back to the wheelchair person, the person in the wheelchair, they are conscious. That is true.
A
But
hallmark just becomes a colloquial notion at this point.
no,
Unless you're saying necessary, and then if you are saying necessary, obviously the people in the wheelchair violate that. So no, it's not a necessary condition.
but that's because part of their biology is broken, and they're not able to fulfill what their DNA actually wants them to do.
Right, but then they
Walk.
still
But
justify
nevertheless, they're conscious is the point.
But
why
like,
it's not a necessary condition.
Jesus.
That is
you know, but they walk on command. Would you say they're conscious?
Who is that? Oh.
Hello? Am I heard?
yes.
Yeah, a little too
It's the
loud.
person that started the room. Yes, someone who is in a wheelchair is conscious. Yes, someone who is blind is conscious, and someone is deaf. However, if you take away the ability to see, if you take away the ability to hear, if you take away the ability to walk, if you take away the ability to eat, if you slowly but surely peel back everything that it is to be conscious, you are left with a non-conscious agent. So it's clear what consciousness is.
A non-conscious agent.
Yeah. Oh, I that is a contradiction to me, by the way. That's why God cannot.
The problem with saying that it's clear what consciousness is that you just completely elided over what all the descriptions were supposed to be of consciousness. You just said, well, if you strip away everything that makes you conscious, then you're not conscious. But everyone agrees with that. The question is, what are those criteria? How do you know them?
Sure. And one of the major criteria is being able to walk on the
That is not a
macroscopic
criteria
landscape
for
and
consciousness.
eat.
You agree that people can lack that and be conscious, so that can't be a necessary criterion for
Here we go.
consciousness is something
Give
that
me
every conscious
An
entity
example
has to have.
of an animal that is able to gather food without, I guess, walking.
Shark. Well,
Snakes.
yeah,
They don't
snakes.
walk, they don't even have legs.
No, snakes still move. You're missing.
Baby
the
bird.
there.
Baby
Well-
bird.
Well, hold on.
Birds
on.
can fly.
No,
You said
again, I
walk.
feel like you're not internalizing what a necessary criterion is, because you agree that like people who are locked in, who like can't move their body, who are like fully paralyzed, right? They can still be conscious, don't you think?
Oh, sure, they can still be conscious, but that's not why consciousness arose as a mechanism.
No, but the question isn't why did consciousness arise? The question is, what are the necessary criteria for consciousness? So this is why I feel like there's been a disconnect, because you've been asked about, well, what are the necessary criteria, and your answers have to do with like why it would make sense to evolve to be conscious, because it would like help you get food and stuff. So you're just answering a question that wasn't asked.
Consciousness, very specifically, is the state of awareness. So, of an organism.
The question is, what are the criteria for that?
No, awareness. So,
No. So let me be more clear. Question isn't.
That would be a
what is
necessary and
awareness?
sufficient condition, to be
But-
fair. You know, awareness is a necessary and sufficient
That's true.
condition of awareness.
No, but so the question is, are there
Well.
any necessary conditions to being aware. So, like, for instance, if you're a physicalist, you're going to say the only way you can be aware is if you have a physical body, right? If you're not a physicalist, then maybe you think you could be aware without having anything like a brain.
That is
right?
the debate we're having right now. So
Yes,
I believe
and
that you
my
only
problem
have-
is that you aren't giving me or anyone else in this room any reason to think that that having a body or having a brain is a necessary criterion.
It seems to be the only way that we can have conscious. It is
Begging the
all
question.
examples, and
It's
I would
begging the
love to
question.
know how you can have a conscious without it.
Okay,
You're
so
begging the
that's not a
question.
reason.
How is
to
that the
think
begging
that a
question? Is an
body-
inductive inference. Like the question is, can consciousness exist without a brain? Okay, we look around. Where do we see consciousness? It seems to us that we see consciousness here, here, and here. All the examples are brains. So what's
That's
the
dumb.
conclusion
I
we
think
can
you-
make? An inductive inference would
I think
be,
it's pretty
yeah, it
dumb
seems
to
that
say
they
that you're
can
going to
only exist in the
induce a
brain.
set of criteria.
Well,
That's dumb.
This doesn't make any sense to restrict your analysis to only physical things and then say, oh, we're just going to make this inductive thing about how the non-physical things are.
But
It's like if I look at elephants and then I make an inductive inference about crows. That doesn't make any sense.
why do you think that there are non-physical aspects to consciousness?
I mean, we could talk about that, but then we'd no longer
That's the
be
conversation.
talking about. Yes, I'm saying you could change the topic and.
That is the
give up.
topic of the conversation. Give up on what? That's what we've been talking about.
Give
Welcome
up.
to the conversation.
Give up on providing a set of necessary criteria or get reasons to think that having a body is necessary. So far, you've given like an inductive inference, but you haven't responded, at least to my criticism. And now you
It's
want to
literally a
talk about
mechanism
reasons
of
to
the
think
body.
that consciousness might be non-physical, which is fine. We can talk about the other side of like the physicalism, non-physicalism debate, but I kind of want to hear your response to my criticism of the only reason you've provided so far.
It doesn't sound like that is an answer for why there would be a non-physical
Well-
version of consciousness. Right now, all versions of consciousness that we have stem from physical beings. They stem from the one branch that we know of life called animals. And
How
so
do you know
I would
that?
actually need, it is a fact. I would like to know, do you have other facts?
Okay. So you're not in the business of giving reasons, and now we're supposed to be the ones giving reasons. So
Yeah.
I've already
tracking
given my reasons, and
Yes,
it sounds
and
like
you didn't
you do
respond to
not.
my criticism. It's on the table, and you haven't responded to it.
That the body is physical, that it
No.
has to be that way.
Do you remember what my criticism was of your inductive inference?
Yes, you're saying that I am just assuming so, that I am just
No.
asserting it without actually giving a
No.
justification.
No, that was not my. You remember when I said elephants and crows? Do you remember that?
I do.
Yes, that is the criticism. Criticism is
What
that,
about elephants and crows?
yeah. So what you're doing, the inductive inference you're like asking people to make is you look at a bunch of physical stuff, and then you notice that the only physical things that have consciousness are things that have brains, right? You look at rocks, well, rocks aren't conscious. You look at plants, well, plants aren't conscious. You say, oh, wow, well, all the times when we're looking at these physical things, whenever they have a mind, they have a brain. And so then you think, well, maybe having a brain is necessary. That makes sense. Totally makes sense. What doesn't make sense is applying that inductive inference to non-physical things, because you didn't look at any of those, right?
Like
So hence,
what?
so this is the analogy. The analogy is you study elephants for a really long time. You notice all these like necessary things about elephants. That could justify inductive inferences about elephants. But what your study of elephants wouldn't justify is inductive inferences about crows, right? Because you didn't look at any crows. So the inductive inference you're asking us to make has like literally no force whatsoever.
Well,
We're talking about
I'm
non-things.
The
trying to
inductive
understand your
inference- wait,
example. It just
The
doesn't make
inductive
sense.
inference makes total sense, and your objection like doesn't make sense, and
Yeah,
unless you do the exact parallel in like when you offered crows as an additional thing to be examined, you have to offer a bunch of non-physical things to be examined, so that then she can say, "Oh, I don't think these have consciousness."
Yeah, but she didn't do that. Her inductive inference is entirely based on only
Well,
looking at
offer her a bunch of non-physical
It's
things.
not my job
Like-
to help her put together a better
because
inductive
he can.
case.
the entire point of your objection is how can you make that inductive inference if you haven't examined a bunch of non-physical stuff? And her point is, I don't see any non-physical stuff. So if you want to make
But
that
she didn't
objection,
say
you
that.
have to
She
give
didn't
her
say
a
that.
bunch
When did
of.
she
I
say
did.
that? You just made that up.
But yeah, if he had evidence for a
Some
non-physical
white man
brain,
stuff.
he would have presented it, but he doesn't, so he's not going to.
Wait, no, I'm criticizing the inductive inference you're making.
I'm
saying
criticizing that
when you look
argument.
at-
That argument made no sense, and I would like you to present some sort of evidence for why a mind would not have any sort of
Yeah,
physicality. to it.
that
So
objection
you're-
really
you're-
doesn't
hold
make
on.
no sense.
I want to respond. You're gonna like both have to argue against both of you simultaneously. You have to like dual wield. Okay, so you said my argument doesn't make any sense. So do you agree with the analogy at least? Do you agree that like if you're studying elephants, you can't make inductive inferences about crows?
Yes, I do
Okay.
not think that is the argument
do
I'm
you-
doing. This applies to all
hold on.
conscious agents.
Hold on.
It's the
I'm trying-
category animal.
Hold
It has
on.
nothing to do with
Hold on.
specific animals.
Hold on. So, do you agree that that's because like elephants and crows are like different from each other and different enough that like the inductive inference won't apply across?
It depends. If you're studying just animals,
I'm
then it
talking
will.
about.
If you're studying just elephants, then no.
I'm sorry,
Then-
talking
then
about studying
knowing about
just
crows,
elephants. Just
won't-
elephants.
Then no.
Just elephants.
And
Okay.
I would also say that's not what I'm doing, so it doesn't apply to the conversation.
We'll get to the like whether it's an analogy or not. I just want to see if you agree with like how inductive inferences work on physical things. So you agree that like crows and elephants are maybe different enough that studying one won't let you generalize to the other. Okay. So in the case of the physical and the non-physical, why do you think that the non-physical is similar enough to the physical that the inductive inference does apply?
I do not think the non-physical is like the physical because I don't think that you have evidence it exists. So the physical actually does, and that would be the difference.
Okay. So your objection is no longer an inductive inference, and your objection is now there just aren't any non-physical things.
So there's matter, there's energy. You can have abstract ideas, but even those abstract ideas are
we
going
can get
on.
into the evidence.
And it's funny,
for the
this is starting
argument.
to go a little Darthy, like you can only ask questions.
No, that's fine. You can ask questions.
Why do you think there is non-physicality to a mind or consciousness?
Non-physicality to a mind or consciousness. Well, I guess I think that my view is like property dualism. So I think that the only stuff that's involved is like brain stuff, but I think like mental properties, like when you have a thought or an experience or something like that, there's not like some physical, that's not like identical to some physical property. It's a mental property that your brain has. So I think there are like natural laws that like connect brain states, like physical states, to mental states, and that those laws might be contingent, so they could be like different in different possible worlds. So I think the only like non-physical things about people's minds are like the properties they have, not like the substance, the stuff they're made out of. That's my view. But
I would
it sounds
agree
like
with you
agree
that
the
we
physical
have
and the
brain
non-physical
states.
are
It's-
different. So it seems like the
I
inductive
agree
inference
with you
doesn't apply.
that we
So
have brain
what reason do you have
states.
to reject the existence of the non-physical if you have like a principled reason?
I accept brain states. What I don't accept is that it would be something non-physical. You have either matter or energy.
Why do you
those are
reject the
only two.
non-physical?
So are your thoughts going on in your brain?
Are my thoughts going on in my brain?
Yeah. Like is that where it's happening? It's not happening on your brain?
No, your brain states are happening in your brain, but I don't think thoughts are brain states. I think they're mind states, they're mental states.
Okay. Do you think that it is electrical signals traveling through neurons?
That's what a brain state is. A brain state could be that, such and such a signal, such and such a potential activates, et cetera, et
So that's a
cetera.
yes?
That's all like neurophysiology.
So
if you're asking me, is that what a thought is? I already answered that. No, thoughts aren't brain states.
is a thought energy or matter?
Thought is non-physical. It is mental. It is not identical to any physical property.
So there's
or feature.
energy, matter, and mental? I don't remember that in physics.
There's energy. No, well, energy and matter aren't properties.
It's the only
They're
two
like
things that make up this
physical
world.
things, right? They're like an ontology. They're not like a.
I think you're getting a
properties are
bit
abstract.
lost from the topic. Can I help? I think a relevant question would be, in your property dualist view, can that mental stuff exist without brain activity?
I think maybe not probably not for us. As to like what other substrates other than the physical, like the psychophysical laws. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think my commitment to psychophysical laws commits me to thinking that that's the only way you could have a mental state. So I think it underdetermines, just like David was saying.
Because I think her argument applies, like if either
what is
way.
her argument? The inductive one.
The inductive one, like even if she accepts
haven't justified yet.
even if
you
she
guys
accepts
distracted
property
with this?
dualism, like
I'm not asking her to accept
There
property dualism.
no, I'm saying like her argument, like your position isn't counter to it. Like her
Yeah, no
argument
shit.
still apply.
No shit. Her argument. My position isn't a rebuttal to her position. She just asked me, like, to answer her questions, and I was politely indulging her.
No, I'm just
You guys
saying
aren't you're
getting
people,
bogged down
you two,
into non-materiality of mental states.
Yeah, because that's what she was asking about. I'm still interested in like getting you guys to actually justify you two to justify your argument, right? Because right now, as it stands, it seems like the argument is waffling between like an ontological objection to the existence of the non-physical at all.
Let me try this in a different way.
versus this like inductive hypothesis, or this inductive justification that minds need to have brains, but in that case, the physical and the non-physical are so different that the inductive hypothesis can't go across, just like in the case of the elephants and the crows.
Do you agree that digestion
your only
needs...
objection to that has been that it doesn't make any sense. That
Can I ask you?
Gibberish. It's like literally the things I'm saying don't have any coherent meaning.
Do you think digestion needs a stomach or something like that?
Stomach or something like it. Well, what does something like it mean?
Well, you could technically get like a can and put stuff in it and put chemicals in the can and break whatever you put in the can down, but it becomes a stomach.
Sure. Do you think that if we look at like a computer system, do you think that like a computer system could like digest information?
That funny about categories, that's a different type of digestion. I would say, however, the computers are trying to mock what they do. They're trying to get deeper and deeper. They have I would say
Sure.
the
So
computer system's like the brain,
then,
the operating system is like the mind.
Yeah, my suspicion is then that when you say digestion and stomach and something like it, you're baking in the notion of like physically breaking something apart into its like down to a level where it can be like distributed to other parts of the body to provide nutrition.
Sure.
And obviously, if that's your concept of digestion, that's just what digestion means and refers to. Got to have a body. You can't do that without a body.
And that is 100%. Now let's just apply that to consciousness. Same thing.
So why think that consciousness? So why are you rejecting definitions of consciousness that aren't restricted to the physical? Like, do you
why
have
are you
objections to
rejecting
those? Do you think
digestions that are restricted to the physical?
I'm not rejecting digestion. Where did I reject digestion?
I mean,
are you
it was a joke. That was the point. You're not, literally, the analogy is going over your head.
Okay, what's the analogy?
Digestion and consciousness are both mechanisms of the body. You just value consciousness more, so you think it's special.
So it sounds like you didn't listen to my question. My question was, okay, so maybe we'll just walk through this in a couple different questions
take it
instead of
through
asking
slowly.
a compound question. Sure. Do you agree that there are definitions of consciousness that do not presume a physical system?
Unfortunately, there are. I just don't think they're correct.
Hold on. Yeah. So what is your objection to them?
Oh, so I actually, just this moment, I now believe in a non-physical digestion. I think it's heresy that you're trying to push a non-physical digestion. My God has non-physically digestion
Because
since
this is
the
a
moment of
joke.
creation.
Do you have a serious response?
This is the serious response. This is me now teasing you because the analogy went over your head.
I guess I don't
This
understand.
isn't a serious response. I'm teasing.
Yes.
Well,
so what I don't,
yes.
here's what I
Teasing
don't
can be
understand.
serious.
Good
Yes,
analogy.
here's what I don't understand. There's other concepts.
Some religions,
of
enlightenment come from the
there's
pineal
other
gland
concepts
that
of
just tract.
there's other concepts of consciousness on the table that aren't just like concepts of a brain, right? So we talk about like qualia, we talk about awareness, we talk about the mental. There's like plenty of systems and theories out there that have like a non-physical interpretation of the mental, and it sounds like you think those are mistaken. Those have got reality wrong. That's not the way the mental works. Mental stuff is just like the way physical stuff works.
I don't agree with qualia. It's by Daniel Dennett.
Hold on. It seems like that's your view, and I assume that you've got like a reason to think that these other views are mistaken. You don't just like take it as an article of faith. It's not just like an axiom for you. You think that there's like something about reality that you learned. There's like some reason that justifies thinking that all these like goofball non-physicalist views are mistaken. The problem is that you're not sharing those reasons with me. You talked about like having a religion, but that points to just being like dogmatic. Are you just being dogmatic? I hope not. I'm hoping there's a reason that you could share with us or share with me.
I would love to share with the class. Can I? So we have Daniel Dennett did propose qualia. I am highly skeptical of qualia. I'm still open to it, but I don't think that it is. But I reject the hard problem of consciousness because I think that we are what we are made of. I don't think there's a secret sauce or something. I think that when you put all of our physical parts together, specifically in an animal, you're going to get consciousness.
So that strikes me as non-responsive. I could agree that, the psychophysical laws or whatever are such that when you assemble a brain in the right kind of way, you get consciousness. I think even the non-physicalists agree that like, hey, like when you make like all kinds of animals and humans are conscious, and that happens because like their brain gets set up in the right kind of way. When your brain doesn't get set up in the right kind of way, you're not conscious, right? Like if you're brain dead. So everything you just said is completely consistent with thinking that consciousness is not limited to the physical. So I guess what I'm still sort of like waiting for a justification for excluding the possibility of non-physical conscious entities.
Would be
like I agree that you can assemble conscious beings on Earth out of physical stuff, right? Like babies.
Are there agents that are just non-physical? No physicality to them?
I don't know. It seems like you think there aren't. Do you have reasons for that?
Yeah, because consciousness needs a physical medium. I've been presenting trying over and over.
No, why do you think that? Why do you think consciousness needs that?
Without it is just floating. Like you need a computer to run an operating system. Okay, what would you run an operating system on if not for a computer?
I don't know. A soul. You could have it maybe like a spirit, maybe like chi energy that is like non-physical. I don't know. Whatever like goofball
sounds wooish
phlogiston system you want to like make up. I don't know why you're asking me this. You're supposed to be giving a.
No, I already gave
this is the
my
Darth
example.
Dawkins. So this is funny because you talked about the Darth Dawkins thing. So I was like kind of being bossy about asking you questions.
Are you now going to claim I'm like Darth Dawkins? That would be hilarious.
and here's why. Darth Dawkins doesn't like to actually give reasons to believe in God. He'll always try to like reverse things on the atheists and be like, well, well, how do you think that not consciousness? How do you think that intelligibility is possible in a not God universe? Right, and that's kind of what you're doing, right? Like, instead of giving a principled reason to think that consciousness requires a physical substrate,
Dawkins is pretending to be a skeptic. Skeptics are justified in doing this.
Hold on. Instead of giving a principled reason to reject the possibility of a non-physical consciousness, you just say, like, well, how would it work? Right? This like incredulity, like, now it's on us to like provide a full system.
Indeed.
In the absence. You're just like making your position the default. Which is a
So
Darth Dawkins strategy.
we live in a physical world, and no, what people don't like about Darth Dawkins is not even the presuppositionalism. Is that, first of all, he cuts people off, and
Oh yeah, everyone
purposely-
loves the presup. You're right, Amy. Everyone loves that.
What?
No, you're right. You're right. That's not what it is. Nobody doesn't like that.
I'm not sure. Like, you're putting sarcasm on it, but I'm okay. Anyway,
Yeah, you're being ridiculous.
Okay,
True.
whatever. I don't know what you're talking about because I haven't even
You're
got my
being
point out.
ridiculous.
What
You're
am I
just saying outlandish claims because
like?
you're
What?
being emotional.
Give me a
That
claim.
nobody cares about the presup. Of course, people care about the presup. It's annoying as hell.
That wasn't what I said. Okay, you're not listening.
Oh, and
That's
now
okay.
you're delusional. Now you're delusional. I could have guessed that though.
No,
Really?
sorry, you're delusional.
You
like,
sound a little upset,
you
but that's
literally
okay.
invented what was said. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Said nobody
anyway.
cares that he's a presuppositionalist. They care that he cuts people off.
Yeah, that is what I said. No one
They care about
cares.
both.
So
Yeah,
the
no one
first
cares
part
he's a
of that is that nobody
presuppositionalist.
cares that he's a presuppositionalist. Which
People
is
do
weird.
care.
Oh
that
my
he's a
god,
presupper.
fine. People love that he's a presuppositionalist.
That's
No, actually,
not
it drives
what they care
people
about
fucking
me.
crazy.
Some people do.
Yeah. Okay. That
Are you
wasn't the
drunk?
point. You're
Are
just
you
not
drunk?
listening. With that, I feel like you need to drink to just calm it down.
I think you're drunk because you're slurring your words a little bit.
I'm slurring my words. I
all
think
right,
that's
all right,
just
all right.
you.
Wait, you do sound drunk.
Okay. Well, I'm a social drinker. I don't drink.
There we go.
10
Okay.
a.m.
Uh-oh.
and I have not drinking alcohol in probably
That explains
3 or
quite
4
a lot, but
months. I'm okay with alcohol. I'm not like the Muslim position that you should be anti-alcohol
Or the Mormon position.
or
Sure.
the Mormon position. So if you're going that route, then yeah, prohibition didn't work. Screws to be you guys.
Screws to be you guys.
I think my position with people like this, Ball, is that like antagonizing them doesn't help them progress. And I'm not saying you're purely antagonizing them, but what they find antagonistic, right? Which is quite a low bar. So it's better to just like disengage until their emotions have cooled off, and then try to either that or just like shit on them. Like that's how I see these people
Yeah.
now.
What's
Generally,
this pointless
you do
meta?
bants or rants. If they don't get the analogy, if they're not understanding what you're saying, you just
The
tease
meta's
them.
pointless because the conversation was so substantive.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're
Yeah, there
talking
was a
about
specific
gender and sex and
disagreement.
consciousness. I mean, these are all relevant topics I think we should care about. It's an extremely important consciousness, very specifically, is important to me, though I guess we're all conscious, so it's important to everybody.
So I don't know what chemicals are responsible for what emotions, but you can see that there are chemicals spiked in Amy right now such that she's like motivated to fight back or something, like repeatedly.
Is this somebody
something
making a claim that
pointless
the
meta,
the immaterial
can
mind
we-
is not possible? Is that what's going on?
You
I might
continue
just
with the
turn
conversation.
Mussolini
you
down.
know?
Oh.
Idiot.
Oh yeah, is that what's been going on? Is this like an argument from ignorance that's been going on?
Yeah, well, so Amy thinks that you couldn't have a non-physical mind, and I think right
Oh.
now the reason is it's just unclear how that would
Indeed.
even work. Like when we think about how consciousness works in the world, in the physical world, we see like, oh, it's got these different components. You need a brain, you need like a nervous system, you need these neurons.
You need
It's
all
like,
this physical
There's
stuff.
interactions, there's components, there's like Legos, there's sort of like a user manual that we can like reverse engineer, like how this stuff all works.
What's
When it-
unclear
when it
there?
comes to the but when it comes to the idea of a non-physical mind, there's kind of like no user manual. There's no rules. It's just like seems like really speculative. I think that's sort of what Amy's view is. Like, if I had to try to construct an argument, which she like really hasn't been successful at doing, that's the sort of argument I would make.
Didn't they already provide a reason?
Totally fine. That's totally fine.
They already provide a rationale. The rationale is that anytime that we make descriptive statements concerning the brain, or anytime we make like hypothetical statements concerning like a mind, that there's not going to be any state of affairs or instance where we're not going to be using like this like object.
So is this to say? Are you saying it's not possible? Therefore, are you saying therefore it's not possible?
That's not what I'm saying at all. What?
Well, I think that's been the issue, because if people are saying that it's fine if you don't have good reasons to think it, but to say that it's not possible is usually where we run into into the problem.
Can I quickly ask a tangential question? Florianus, what are you a particularist in regards to if you're a moral non-cognitivist? Because surely you wouldn't be a particularist like rigorously in response to morals if they are like meaningless terms, right?
I mean, are you like
how
this?
you feel, right?
Okay, well,
what should my poetic expression be in this?
You want to just like shift the whole conversation and just?
Yeah, I did say it's a pretty tangent. I'm just curious.
I mean, so particularism is like a family of views. So particularism is a family of views. You presumably have like one kind of particularism.
I'm just asking what kind of particularist are you, because it doesn't seem like you want to be.
Particular. Why would you compatibility?
Because moral cognitivist means that morals have no content. So how can you be a particularist about something with no content?
Do you know what moral? Tell me what you think moral particularism is. I'm just curious.
Is where each like action and what's it like in morals, like there's like the receipt of like an action is judged in its like context alone. Like, so you can have two separate situations of someone shooting someone, and those two things are going to be judged like separately, like, and not by some sort of principle that underlies the two. So when you're saying you're a particularist, about non-cognitivism, it seems to be asinine or even contradictory, because you're saying I'm a particularist about blah blah.
I don't really think you know what moral non-cognitivism is.
It means there's no content, because there's no reference in the positions.
Mental attitudes, so they're not truth functional. But yes, that's what moral non-cognitivism is.
Well,
that's like that's like distinct, right? That's like a motivism or expressivism, which can also you can also hold to that as an it's an error theorist, right? You can say the same thing, which is that moral statements just represent people's expressions and their attitudes, right? However, what really underlies a non-cognitivist is like saying something like all propositions of a moral kind are either like empty of content or like contradictory or something like that.
No, the claim is there.
It's strange to say particularists.
No, they wouldn't say they're.
Well, that's a sufficient condition, right? That's a sufficient condition of them being non-cognitivist, not a necessary condition.
The claim is they're not propositions; they're the other types of sentences.
I'm a Zeleny guy. I'd like you to engage.
So moral particularism is the idea that there's no like tenable like moral facts of the matter, and so this would just, I think, trivially follow from moral non-cognitivism.
That's not what particularism is.
Moral particularism, that's what it is.
I didn't think that was what it was either.
I disagree. My understanding of moral particularism isn't that there aren't moral facts, but it's that these moral facts
are not universal.
Don't follow from like universal general principles. And
I mean, why don't you guys just read the SCP article?
Well, I have, and the opposite of what you're saying is the opposite of particular. The opposite of particularism is generalism. The opposite of particularism is not realism. A moral realist could be a
Universalism or
particularist.
absolutism.
Moral realist could be a particularist. They just have to think there aren't like grand moral principles that apply in every case, and instead you have to have a moral like sensitivity. You have to like a sensitivity to the morally relevant features present in any situation, and that you treat everything on a case by case basis to try to find the like specific fact, the moral fact for that situation. Right? That's like what Aristotle said. That's his whole idea about phronesis, is you need practical wisdom to apply to any given scenario. You can't just like memorize stuff.
Right,
But
particularism is a
Aristotle was
pluralist.
famously a realist. So.
Yeah, particularism is a pluralist notion, which means there'd be like more than one like moral property, and that runs counter to the non-cognitivist who says there are no moral properties. This is why I'm pointing this out with you. Not,
I mean, I'd like
not because
to-
I think you're an idiot. Some people do that when they're an idiot. I don't think you are an idiot.
A
No, I
type
think
of
you
particularism
wrong.
is moral subjectivism, and most moral subjectivists are
I don't even
non-cognitivists
listen
in
to
the
this
sense
guy.
of
I'd rather
like
you respond
emotivist.
Florianus.
Yeah, you're an
Pennsylvania.
idiot. Like
Yeah, Jew,
Well, I don't-
Joey Wolf, can we mute Zelini or
You're
something?
cool.
Like he's not contributing. Thank you.
I love that.
Sorry, Florianus. Go ahead.
So I don't really think that there's any
Yeah.
incompatibility between moral
Well,
particularism
listening to them go
moral
back and forth.
non-cognitivism. But another moral non-cognitivism, moral non-cognitivist, yeah, they'll say that like the set of all ethical sentences will be like
Right.
no
May I-
different in their
I want
content,
to,
like,
if you don't, I know that you have more to say. I do apologize. However, like I did just say that. So you said you don't see the contradiction, like the conflict, right? I gave it to you. The non-cognitivists are going to say that there are no moral properties. However, the particularists are pluralists about moral properties. So they're going to say there are more than one moral property. So that would be a contradiction to say there are more than one and none, right? I mean, I can link you even to the SEP that says that they're pluralists.
yeah, right.
So I mean, there's nothing. You're not dumb. I just think it's like a small mistake that you made. And also, you could when we're saying like particularism, like it doesn't have to be like a rigorous so like you said, it's a family term, right? You could not be using like the super rigorous definition of like moral particularism. You could be trying to hint at something else, and there's no foul really doing that. But when people read that on the face of it, it does seem contradictory, and then I like to make a joke out of that. Really, that's all that's happening.
Well, I mean, every non-cognitivist thinks that there aren't moral facts, right?
Right.
A non-cognitivist thinks that like what's happening with our moral
Trivial,
discourse
yeah.
is that we're just expressing approbation or disapprobation, something like that. I'm saying like boo, like fuck that, don't do that, something like
Brownie
that.
face.
Yeah. So, I mean, on your view of particularism, like every non-cognitivist is a particularist in the sense of denying like facts, denying moral facts, that there's something like out there about the world that our moral sentences are trying to get right about.
Also, secondly, not to dog on you too much because you are a nice guy and not dumb, clearly. Secondly, like both coherentist and infinitist are epistemological terms in response to like the Agrippa trilemma, right? So to be both would seemingly be a contradiction as well. Like to say that there is an infinite chain that doesn't loop, but there is of reasoning for all facts, and there is a chain of reasoning that loops, that's self-referential. That would be a contradiction, unless you're. Again, I use those terms colloquially because, like someone who says the universe is eternal would say that they're like an ontological infinitist, right?
Well,
But they could be
like kind of like a
epistemological
meta,
coherentist.
yeah, kind of like a meta epistemic. I hold to like a meta epistemic infinitism.
I don't understand.
Did I lag out below?
No, I just don't understand.
Still
Sorry,
here.
go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't think. I mean, like, I think that there may be like an infinite set of like certain like facts that I don't have like epistemic access to, but explain your argument for why you think that infinitism in epistemology, that it doesn't fare well with coherentism.
Yeah, it's exclusive. It's because coherentism, like one of the tenets of coherentism is that the set of beliefs are like self-referential, whereas the infinitist will say there is at least like one chain which is like non-referential. It doesn't loop back round.
You believe that coherentists believe that like beliefs are reflexive or something? They'll
Yes.
say that they'll say that like a given belief is like a given belief's justification, like the conditions of justification are satisfied in that given belief's fixed coherence with like the individual's other web of beliefs. So it's true if and only if coheres with my other beliefs. So it's not a world-oriented epistemology, right? Yeah. So I mean,
Well,
it
that
doesn't
is true,
seem to have
but
anything to do with self-reference, right?
right, it doesn't
Well,
speak
that's
to the
why-
idea.
well, that's why I was saying I don't really understand.
So here's the thing: like a necessary condition of coherentism is like, say you have A that justifies B and B that justifies C. Is like at some point in your web, something like this will happen where C justifies A, so you could repeatedly go A B C A B C A B C. Whereas the infinitist will say that doesn't happen in their system. Like for the most reduced belief, like the most reduced belief goes A B C D E F G and so on.
Are you just talking about like transitivity, or
We'll probably go for another 30 minutes.
No, just like justification.
I'll
like,
see if I can
A
get them on
justifies
a
C.
Whether there's
spicy
cycle
topic.
or not. If there's a cycle, then like I guess you're saying infinitists are committed to the view that there are
Sending love out there to everyone.
Well, I mean, at least
Rock
only
and Tim and Batman.
aren't cycles in response to like a as in like there could be cycles, but those aren't like the foundation. Like there are only cycles when there are more than one path. Whereas the coherentist is are committed to saying that like everything is like cyclical
Yeah, I feel like coherentists
when
are-
reduced.
I don't know that coherentists are I don't know that coherentists would have to think that. I guess it depends on the version of coherentism. I agree that coherentism, as you're defining it, is incompatible. But you might just think like, you could be a pluralist, right? And think that like maybe there's some kind of not inferential justification, but also like coherence itself, like reflective equilibrium or something like that, also has like is an epistemic virtue. Right.
Oh, but then
I don't see anything contrary about like a more pluralist view of.
well, but coherentism, you could be a coherentist in terms of like justification as distinct from like a coherentist in response to regress. So
Sure,
coherentist in
okay,
response to
maybe I'm
justification is like
confusing yeah, those could be different for sure.
yeah, and like so if he's a coherentist in like so for example you could be a coherentist about truth, and you could be an infinitist about the regress problem, and then those terms would be compatible. But if you're a coherentist about the regress and also an infinitist, then you run into a contradiction, I think.
Yes, I lagged out, so I'd hate to ask you to repeat that, so I'm not gonna.
Well, I just don't know which bit you would have missed, but you're welcome
okay.
to if you want to.
There are no defensible moral until there are not moral facts. Yeah, that was a blunder on my part.
Yeah,
I
all good.
didn't say moral facts.
We all make blunders from time to time. Right?
Meaningful difference between moral principles, no defensible moral principles, and no defensible moral facts.
So I just
You
have
know
to ask if anyone may be atheist or theist. in here. I'm probably gonna stay for like another 30 minutes where I gotta go. But any theists in there that want to talk theology?
I just one quick thing real quick. Orson, you know who Florianus is, right?
Grandma, get back in bed.
No, I don't.
Who's Florian?
There's a guy that used to come
worth
around
a
a couple
chance.
years ago named Nicholas, who
I will
was
say-
kind of like a Darth underling. He
It
came in
started
with a
on
whole
gender.
precept argument. That was Nicholas, not just about a few years ago. He's come a long freaking way.
And went to consciousness.
Okay, so the thing was,
I don't remember Nicholas either, though.
So the thing was, yeah. So it's interesting because there's a decent sum, I think, of people who are like in my age range who at some point have gone through this phase of like being like a Darth acolyte or whatever. And so I would like, I would like run these tag arguments, these like Van Tillian tag arguments, that were of like the similar form as like the ones that Darth were running. And but I don't, I mean, looking back, I mean, like, yeah, I don't really believe in this whole like the whole like virtuous vicious circularity distinction. I don't really think there's a meaningful difference between both of those.
Ooh, hi, Florian. That seems weird.
Yeah.
That's me again.
I think there's a virtuous circle and a vicious circle distinction because I think like
Precepts invented that.
they may have, but in this case, I think they may have been right too. Because I think something like this can happen where there's like a worldview that you can fall into that like once you have it, things are going to go well. And it's all going to be self-consistent and nice, and you're going to be like an evidentialist, and you're going to like understand implicit and explicit bias and that sort of stuff. There's other worldviews you can fall into where you're not going to get that, right? Maybe a good analogy would be like negative induction versus induction, right? So like one version of induction for scientific theories is like if it's been successful in the past, then we should think it's going to be successful in the future. And then negative induction is like if it's failed in the past, we should think it's going to be successful in the future. And both of these are self-consistent, right? So I guess I think that like self-consistency is sort of like circularity, and that like there are good versions of that, like negative induction, or there's bad versions of it like negative induction, and good versions of it like regular induction. I don't know exactly what the correct analysis is that like separates the two, but it does seem like it's a thing. Like self-consistent loops, like traps.
I just want to say I think we all have presuppositions. What I don't like about presuppositional apologetics is it just always comes off feeling dishonest because it seems like they don't want to defend their actual views.
I think there's a distinction between like axioms and presuppositions.
Sure, maybe. It depends
like
on
an
the
axiom
context.
will be something presupposed, but not all presuppositions, like you said, will be axioms.
I think that when it comes to things like a god, I think they are adding on an extra presupposition. We all think, therefore we are, but they're adding on another agent.
Well, so Van Tillians will say that like all arguments depend on virtuously circular premises, and they believe that all and every claim or proposition is going to be circular in like some sense. But like the problem is that like if an inference requires like some kind of a symmetry breaker to like distinguish itself as justified, then it's like useless. It's worthless by itself. Like if you have like no two circular inferences that have like mutually exclusive conclusions can be justified by their common circularity. It's like this kind of like reductio argument.
Sure, I mean, you have things where you do need logic to use logic. I would just love to know some of the, yes, my child. I would love to know some of the ways that the Christians claim that God, the Christian God specifically, makes everything coherent. There's another word specifically, makes it basically us able to be understood and concepts at all. I don't get where Christian God comes from for that. What's up, Mark? What's up, everybody?
You mean, like, why the Christian God would be necessary? Like,
intelligibility.
Without the Christian God, you couldn't get intelligibility? Or is the question, how is it that God made intelligibility happen in our universe?
Yes, I would take both of those
yes,
because I would take those to both. One? Like, as in, I want to know how a God connects to intelligibility, because from everything that I can tell,
sure, God created the world,
brains.
and the world has stuff like brains and things in it, right? It has like natural laws and the way proteins work and like form into things like neurons, all of that. Right? If God created the world, then He like ordained all of those things.
The other one's the better question, obviously.
If God created the world, and that is generally, it is asserted in a presuppositionalist argument. I wish they would give evidence for why they think a God exists instead of just.
So what you want to ask them is why is it impossible for intelligibility to exist in a non-God world? Is what we want to ask.
Yeah.
Specifically, since I think that our brains and minds are what make this world intelligible, and I think we have a better model.
Well, I mean, you're asking them. Is what I'm saying. You're asking them why they think it's impossible.
Yeah, I'm not saying anyone's a precept here. I think Darth went to the politics server.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, I've met a handful of presuppositionalists. Only one or two have been decent human beings. Don't know what it is about presuppositionalists that makes people assholes, but yeah.
Yeah, I hate all that like muscular, like alpha Chad bro Christianity. There's much of it on this server too, like the Eastern Orthodox people who are like super anti-woke.
Well, what ends up happening is they become what they hate, like times 10 or equal, whatever you want to count the measure. They are what they.
What I think is unfortunate on a real general scale is that like the red pill people like have almost coined or hoarded self-improvement.
Yeah.
Whereas I think self-improvement is fantastic, and some red pill things are like true, but a lot of it is cringe or garbage.
Yeah.
Well,
it'd be really cool if there were resources for like alienated young men to improve themselves, other than like, we don't have to educate you, sweetie. It's not our job. And then like Andrew Tate. It would be nice if there were other options.
I 100%
There are.
agree.
You have something that's called the Men's Liberation Movement. You have, for example, the Good Men Project. Like those are people who like are focused on male, like, and masculine people and how they should like.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
improve
suggest that
themselves.
literally there are no other sources. Obviously, I think there are other sources.
But
right?
no, I
try
think
to
we
a
should
source for it
be.
in the world.
Which is why I said, like, on a real general scale, you know, the red pillars are associated with self-improvement.
So I
necessary
dislike the term red pill because they have taken it from something really cool, which was the Matrix, and I think they use it better. But you could teach a healthy version of masculinity, of being, you know, any stereotype that they would have pushed forward of just being strong and leadership and having honor. And you can teach that in a context without having to be a D-bag.
That is true.
Sure.
That's hopefully the way forward.
Well, yeah, I don't know that just
the
teaching that sort of stuff
problem
is the way forward. I think you need a lot of like material support to change for young men and young boys, like in school and that sort of thing.
See, the problem is that you can't actually do that.
Do what, like promote healthy masculinity or something else?
I'm just joking.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, masculinity is necessarily unhealthy.
Yeah, God.
Look, I'm bi. I need to have both sides. This is like I want both sides of the buffet.
I love masculinity.
Amy, I have a question.
I know you do.
Sure.
Is the presupposition of a deity existing reliant on the subject of finding it in our natural world as opposed to the supernatural world?
Can you say the beginning of that again?
Okay. Is proving a deity true reliant on the idea that it must be found in the natural world as opposed to the supernatural world?
It doesn't have to be, but the moment that we start talking about an all-powerful God, I want no nitpicking. Like the moment it's an all-powerful, can do whatever they want. This God, as far as the Torah goes, was talking first person to people and having conversation, like micromanaging, giving direct orders. So if they can do it in the Old Testament, if they can, if they're all powerful, then I want no complaints that they can't come to me with a natural thing that to me seems like it would be actually the easiest thing for the God to do instead of breaking the laws.
Right. Because I had a discussion recently with someone claiming to have heard the voice of God, and I wanted some like a genuine opinion.
So I'll give a joke and then I'll give my actual opinion. The joke is that if you're talking to God, that's normal. If God talks back, seek help. And so like I'm open to them talking to God. I just would like to know how we can do, if it's happening like 24/7, like they just can't shut God up, then let's figure out a way to, talk to them.
Because I specifically asked for instructions as to how that makes it work every single time. And needless to say, it didn't work. And specifically for me, hello?
Oh, we still hear you. I don't know. I think someone was having a bidding war.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
For
I
well
would
pussy
say-
apparently.
Can I tell you the best method in ever handling this stuff?
Please
is
do.
Just Socratic method them, because if you say it, it's always going to be on the defense. But if you can get them to say it out loud, they oftentimes will be like, well, that does kind of, now that I say it, it does kind of, sometimes it makes them re-second guess or at least explore their views. And so I think the best way forward with that is just a Socratic method. Just ask questions. Just figure out why. And keep asking until you get, a justification that I guess is feels good.
That's actually pretty smart. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, in a few minutes, I'm probably gonna head out. But the Jew, I want to thank you so very much for inviting me to talk. It was a great conversation.
You're welcome. I guess. Yeah. All right. So, what's up, guys?
Pussy.
Shut up, Jew.
Hell yeah, brother.
Joey probably has like Stockholm syndrome. Like the more like mean to her I am, the more she likes me.
You're not actually mean to me.
Here I am.
Say there's a fetish for that, I think.
It's called masochism.
See, now we're getting to better subjects. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I kind of like this more.
Yeah, guys, I'm a masochist, if you didn't know. I have limits, but overall,
It's okay. We don't kink shame nobody.
I'm a huge sub.
Unless
Dirty
that's what
sub.
you're into.
Well, that is definitely what I'm into. King shame me all day, baby.
Being a huge sub is like a contradiction, right? Because if a submachine gun got big enough, at what point do we start just calling it a machine gun?
Oh my god.
By that logic, how
Bro,
big
we're
enough
not
does it become
And that's
a
not a
dominant gun?
contradiction. We're talking about subwoofs. Orson, keep track.
You don't determine the subject. I can
I
equivocate
did.
freely, okay?
I did just now. I just did. What of it? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, you and what army, huh?
Me and the army of girls, of course.
The sub-army.
Actually, you're right. I apologize. So I rescind all, transgressions.
See, I understand your motives all too well.
Yeah, don't set the girls on me, okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, I'm going to head out. I hope you all have a lovely day or night and send in love to a lot more fun.
Yeah, take it easy.
See ya.
Woo-hoo! All right. Well, I think that went fun. I think I'll talk with you guys as I close up. That was our second episode of Impromptu Debate You. That actually went well. This is going to be, I think, my new thing. Her name is the Jew. That was her. I think she is Jewish. And so she said she was an atheist, but disagreed with me on gender, the notion. And so I think we're going to end up agreeing more than you think. And I think I can pat myself on the back in this one regard. I think I was right there because I think it's just, and it's not her fault. It is this counter narrative that goes out there that just, we throw out all of biology. We just don't understand what sexuality is or, excuse me, sir, what is a woman? Can you answer that? And that's just really, I don't know. They're like talking points. I hate to say even a narrative. That tends to be what I get. It's almost a reactionary narrative from us. Once again, if I could stroke, our own ego this time, all of secularity, it's because we've kind of kick butt and take names. Like secularity has been slowly since the Enlightenment gaining ground. And it's just now that I think some of the religious people are catching on. And so, yeah. But it was a good discussion. Great to see everyone out there. Sending love to there's two Marks out there. Send up Mark to Mark Reid and Mark Seabilly. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And Tim and Rock, Daniel, Robertson. I'm also going to give just like the quick verbal shout outs that I should have done at the beginning, but I'm saying now because I wanted to make sure I got into that conversation. Just sending love out to Oz and Grumpy and Diana and Pat and Dale and Davegar and Scott and Regis and Rachel and Cato and James Wolfe, Ian Davenport, and Matt Deeg. Send love to all you guys and gals out there. Send us love over in Super Chats who have sent channel memberships. I think I'm actually going to upload. I got a new badge I need to upload in the channel membership for Twitch and YouTube, but I'm going to get a whole bunch of new fun badges. Was the fault in the server name trash? He asked you about the friends discussion that he claimed to talk to God. What is up, Mark? It is lovely to have you on board. And I hope you are sincerely able to either best case scenario has helped them. Worst case scenario, I think you will understand them better. And so that is at least a win-win either way in my book. And thank you so very much, Titan and Binge. That's right, all the Marks. Sending love out there to Mark also, who had just an awesome debate on Modern Day Debate. BT Dubs about to have Debate Con. Sending love to my another brother out there. I have many Jameses in my life. James W., I think, is actually sleeping right now. Sending love to him. He's going to join us on some of these, but he's also going to sending love to James of Modern Day Debate, James Coons, as well as Debate Con going live in Texas, either the week or two upcoming. Trying to think of anything else other than sending so much love. I finally got the song for the new closing, but I have to add Speed of Sound and Disciple Day. So I think it's going to be one more episode where I'm singing the beats. Let me just make sure of something. Okay. Because I'm sending love to you all, I think with that, please do not forget to check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/Amy Newman, where you can get some unique perks. I think we are going to be releasing the first episode of Talk Skeptic on the Street either tonight at like right past midnight or sometime into this new day. Yeah. I feel weird because I feel like I should get that new opening. I think I want to keep on talking with you guys while I secretly do. Working here with Gizmo. We're trying to get... Okay, I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'll work on it offline. I just want to send extra love then to Speed of Sound and Disciple Day. I'll name them out as I'm doing it on there. That way they make sure they get all their Patreon support and rewards. We really do want to thank you guys and gals. And one actually last thing. Someone, if you are an atheist or theist that would like to, we want to get more Debate Me bras. We've been saying this forever as well. Debate Me bra, please put your name in the hat. Figure out a way to contact me. I'll give this up on here. I'll send the Google Doc debate to join if you would like. But feel free to just contact me. Just send me a message on Discord. Send me an email or in chat or whatever. Atheist, theist, we are looking to get you up on there. And so send in one mass more love. Actually, take forward look upcoming for creative and comical. I'm also going to be releasing, I am editing right now, Mythic Structure, A Hero's Journey, with examples through the first Avatar, because they are about to release the sequel. And so I'm going to show why I think that did so well. And then I have one last thing that I can now share. And that is, if you are, does not matter if you are an atheist or a theist out here, I just started doing this, but producing. So we'll send that out there. If you are looking, atheist, theist, otherwise, for someone to produce, I just started producing. Gizmo and I are starting up, and we're starting to get our thing done. And so check that out. The link on the bottom with my Fiverr to help you produce whatever content you would like. And yeah, I feel like that's all I got, really. I'm just sending love to all of you out there. And I hope that you all have a fantastic adventure. Ooh, absolutely. You know what? Boom. Mark, you're next. Because we're just looking for someone. So if I could get Rebel to agree with this, what do you want to do, though? Like, pick a, got a subject debate on, like, are you looking for flat Earth? Are you looking for Christianity? Just God versus atheism? Will you let me know, and we will set me up, because I think that's going to be the first one coming back, and then we're just going to advertise the hell out of it. Oh, my. You want to step in and put your ring in for the flat Earth? Mark, I think I couldn't have said or have been happier. We'll do it. And I'll tell you why also. I think I'm starting to realize why James does it is because it gives such a chance for skeptics to thrive. Because not that I think that we should be propagating flat Earth, but because without us, without the skeptics, it would just be them. And so people who are able to coherently, concisely explain why the world is round, as silly as it sounds, that is an asset on the internet right now. And so that's right, that thick Earth. That's one of the emojis I'm having done. Like, I feel so bad for, like, the artist that, like, has to read the description that says we're looking for a picture of an Earth with a fat ass looking backwards. But this is the high bar that we set on this channel. That's really what we're going for. Ooh, what's up, Zelini? I'm a theist. I can debate general theism or liberal Christianity or something specific. Welcome on board. I would love that. So, I mean, I will set you up with a play day right now with Mark, but we also, I think, Rebel. Well, I will say maybe we'll find you an atheist as well. I'm gonna try and find Rebel, but we're gonna get people paired up because we're gonna have some great debates. We're gonna have many more debate me bras because I have been looking to have more fun, more of this impromptu debate you, and of course our 3 flagship shows. Look for more open mics on our Skeptic Bible Study, our Midnight Rantings, and of course our Skeptic and Ranting, because this is the Skeptic and Ranting community. You can find the Discord link in the description below. One day I would like to start getting our own Discord debates as well. I think I'm going to continue to go on the politics and religion server. Maybe every once in a while I'll go on the politics server to handle a Darth or two or a presuppositionalist. I really just want to have a conversation with him about conversations. A little meta, but everything else that he talks about is probably going to be a waste. So, like, not that he's not, you know, a lot of these guys are intelligent. They are just assholes. And so and they're not that way to other theists either, which is a thing. I see sometimes they get a little mushy or you can tell they let their guard down. But I want to keep on doing all this stuff. This has been a lot of fun. I really do want to thank everyone out there in the Skeptic and Ranting community. And I really am going to sing the song this time with the added bonus. So once again, I hope you all have a fantastic day or night, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Shoop doop, shoop doop 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 boo. Shoop doop 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 boo. Yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, sending love to our patrons and supporters. Yeah. There's Oz and a grumpy Diana, Scott and Ian. Woo! Oh yeah, Pat and Dale, Dave, Garrigus, Mark. Woo! Sending so much love. Farron, Rachel, Martin, Rogers, and James. So many amazing people. Oh, and Kato, Jena, Commander Cyborg, Matt Deeg, Uncle Beck, We are also adding Disciple Day and Speed of Sound. So many fantastic people. I want to thank all my Patreons, all the channel members, all the viewers and subscribers. Good night.